Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about Dr. Doom because we finally got his potential up to 100%, which means we took the massive dive in gold and resources. For those of you that are paying attention, you can see I dropped about 30 million gold, and we got him to almost max stats and almost a max build. So I want to talk to you guys about that. I want to give you guys gameplay of his PvP auto and give my more refined thoughts on this character, because of course when he first came out, super expensive character, the most expensive epic quest, and then the most expensive character, you know, since Strife. But then you also combine the fact that day one he was level 70, so it was just a crazy amount of resources to pump into one character alongside Mr. Fantastic, and then the kind of mixed results that I think some people in the community felt towards Dr. Doom based on his value. So it was expensive, it definitely was. And for those of you that, or if enough of you want to see that highlight of me getting wrecked and spending millions of gold and thousands of Chaos Nornstones and black antimatter, I can definitely put that up for you guys if it's not muted by the music. But yeah, we're looking at under 6,000 for both at this point, which is really sad, but hey, I'm dealing with it. From someone who had 50,000, over 50,000 black antimatter before the Infinity War update less than a year ago, which is completely insane, but whatever. As far as his gears go, I didn't go all the way, but I went 25, 24, 23, 25. Don't really inquire why I did that. It's just mostly for the stats. I did tweak a few of his Uru, and the stats we're looking at is almost basically maxed ignore defense, 1% off of cooldown, and I honestly would like that to be lower. And then very good attack speed, crit rate, critical damage, very, very high, given his the fact that he doesn't have a uniform and given his base gear. There are some bonuses he's getting right now from the team up, so don't mind his actual stats here. They are inflated. If we take the team off of him and we go over to him, this will show the actual stats, just under 30,000, just under 29,000 for HP. I enhanced his type once just to see if it would help him a little bit in PvP, but as you'll see, he has a couple of weaknesses that are highlighted by his skill set specifically. We're rocking Power of Angry Hulk still, stage 8 bonus, so I definitely still have a way to go to enhance this. And then we are rocking a CTP of Authority with very high stats, one of my best CTPs period. So he's got a full PvP build going on. I mean, the only thing I could change is of course swapping out some of these offensive Urus like crit damage and crit rate for more HP, but that would basically be the only step left. And for those of you that are keeping very close attention to Dr. Doom, he's also really good for ABX. He looks like he will be better than Ant-Man for the actual stage day that he is available for, which is the Universal Supervillain Day. So for those of you that want to see my PvE Dr. Doom, you're going to have to wait about a week and a few days. I will be uploading that on that day, where I'll be switching his obelisk for a CTP of energy. I'll be testing him out in World Boss, I'll be testing him out in this stage, and I'll give you the full rundown then. But for now, let's cut to some PvP clips so I can talk about what you're seeing right now. What I went ahead and did is I took the top 5 characters, or the top 5 opponents in Vibranium, so rank 1 to 5. Not always necessarily the best players, but usually it's a mixture of best players and then guys who are just spamming crystals. I went ahead and I checked their stats and their cards and their gear on their characters, their obelisks. Most of them, I'd say 60 to 80% of them, had good to great builds. I'm talking guard break immunity, recovery rate, 5 seconds of invincibility, 20 to 40% max HP on their cards. So we're not really talking about weak PvP opponents. For weak PvP opponents, Dr. Doom basically crushes them. He can auto-play and win almost every battle that I faced, but of course what you're seeing now is not that. To highlight some of Dr. Doom's weaknesses, I would say that one-on-one versus Strife, he struggles mightily, and that really highlights the problem in timeline battle, especially when you're auto-playing, of having a weak 1 and 2 skill. So the 1 skill and the 2 skill are actually extremely valuable for PvP, especially timeline battle, especially if you want to auto-play, because, and I mean this extends to things like Alliance Conquest and Alliance Tournament, because if your cooldown starts, and they all start at the kind of max cooldown, the 1 and 2 are going to come off of cooldown first, because usually 1 and 2 have the shortest cooldown in terms of their overall duration. So this will start at 3 seconds, and so 3 seconds into the fight, Dr. Doom will start with Devil's Grab. Now, Devil's Grab is a good skill when it hits, but I find that the skill has a weird targeting, and sometimes it doesn't do any damage, and he just kind of dances around the opponent and doesn't do any damage. Another time he basically one-shots. There's a clip in the middle here where he's gonna kill Strife with his first skill. I've also seen him one-shot a Deadpool from full health with Devil's Grab, so it's kind of a bizarre skill. It's got bad targeting though. His second skill, Face Your Doom, although it has some great effects there on the stats, it also isn't a very good skill. Not an iframe, not a lot of hits, not a large AoE, and when he does it, it tends to set him up to get attacked and to take a lot of damage. So because he has a weak 1 and 2 skill, especially compared to Strife, who has very good 1s and 2s, Strife 1s and 2s, his second skill does incredible damage because of all the hits, and it stacks incapacitation, so it takes away your buff so that you can be stunned and things like that. And then Death Leap has stun fracture, and it's an iframe. So Strife has very, very strong first and second skills, which is part of the reason that makes him a very powerful, very effective one-on-one PvP character. And if you want to compare to Thanos, of course, an amazing first skill, one of the best, if not the best first skill in the game. Yeah, his second skill is not that great, but his other skills have a very low cooldown, so they're available much earlier. And because he uses his first skill, Titan Punch gives him, you know, a little bit of invincibility for 2 seconds, so it buys him some time to stall until his 3, 4, and 5 are available. But because Dr. Doom doesn't have that, he usually ends up dying right away, and that's what you're seeing against Strife. He's basically just dying in the first part of the fight, and then he revives, and then it's basically, when he revives, he has all of his skills off cooldowns. Then that's kind of more of a fair fight. And in that sense, and in that second phase is where you'll see Dr. Doom a little bit more scary mode. He never really does his fifth skill. I think only once throughout this entire rotation he does it, of 10 different fights, mainly because my skill cooldown is too high. And that's why I said I would maybe like to have lower skill cooldown, just to see if Dr. Doom would rotate through his skills a little bit more smoothly. Maybe 46, 45% skill cooldown might be more ideal, but that kind of screws around a lot of my other characters for ABX and other game modes, so it's not something that I can test at the moment. I would have to tweak my cards. It's a very expensive and kind of difficult thing to do. In terms of weaknesses, besides Strife, I think that characters with lots of iframes and characters with lots of dodge and guaranteed dodge are possible counters to Dr. Doom. So if you're finding yourself struggling against Dr. Doom, Tier 3 Spider-Man is a great option. I think he has a lot of possibility and a lot of potential to counter Dr. Doom. And then you could go with other characters that fill out those requirements. Because Dr. Doom only has Ignore Dodge on one skill. As a buff, I think it's on Face Your Doom, or no, it's on his fourth skill, Science and Magic. It's on one of his skills. One of his skills, yeah, Antimatter Pistol, sorry. It gives him 50% Ignore Dodge for 3 seconds. So that skill is very good, but if he doesn't get to do his fourth skill because you're iframing or what have you, then you'll be able to kind of take him down at least once. And then you can kind of go from there, and that's pretty much what I would go for. You can also try to use energy and or physical reflect. Dr. Doom has physical damage on his third skill as a hidden attribute. I believe he also has physical damage on his fourth skill, so you can try someone like Colossus, who has reduced damage against supervillains. He may be able to tank Dr. Doom long enough to kill him, and because Dr. Doom only has 2 iframes, he'll take a lot of that reflect damage. The only real way to hide from reflect is with iframes. Dr. Doom only has 2 iframes, so he's definitely vulnerable to being reflected. So even Scarlet Witch's reflect would work, Doctor Strange's reflect would work, Destroyer's reflect would obviously be super effective, and there are a bunch of other characters that have nice reflect, so you can try that as well. For the future of Dr. Doom, I do see a uniform eventually making him a lot better, but I think he's within the top 5 right now of timeline PvP characters. I can't really speak for Lance Tournament, can't really speak for Lance Conquest just yet, but I think seeing his autoplay, he completely dunks like 95% of characters. It's just that final 5%, especially when he has to go first against them and he has that skill cooldown disadvantage where he really starts to struggle, and you see the highlighted weakness of the 1s and 2s that I described earlier. The second part of the PvP battles that I didn't really explain before that I'll explain now is I basically switched up the team. The first team is kind of my generic PvP team right now, also called the Death Squad. The second team I built basically specifically for Dr. Doom, and that's why I was switching at the beginning from Victorious. In an ideal situation, I would let Victorious die first, because every second that she survives gives Dr. Doom more time to start the fight on his 4 and 5 skill, which is pretty unfair. So I didn't want to set up the situation too much in favor of Dr. Doom, because it may give you guys, you know, an unfair representation of his possibilities. But of course, all of this is done via autoplay. If I were to manually play Dr. Doom, he would win more than 90% of his battles. And I mean, to prove your point, I've been playing pretty much exclusively with Dr. Doom for the past 2 weeks since he came out, even at level 60, because I wanted to play with him and because he was never banned, unlike a lot of other characters. And I was able to get the achievement, the quest achievement for 100 straight, 100 consecutive timeline battle wins. So he definitely is no slouch. And it's going to be a scary day when he gets a uniform, or if he gets a tweak to his 1 skill or his 2nd skill, or both. Yeah, you're looking in for nightmares. So keep your eye out for Dr. Doom. Let me know if you guys want to see that resource wasting clip that I had on the live stream. Let me know what you guys think of Dr. Doom and how you've been trying to counter him in PvP, or how you're building him for PvP or PvE if you have him. Subscribe if you enjoy the content. Hit me up on Twitch for more amazing adventures. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.